I throw a late night live stream out for you guys, for those of you who are in different time zones and would like to join in on some of these live streams, but it's in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day for you, or depending on where it is that you're at and can't join in. I figured I would do one kind of at the opposite time frame. So here we are in the middle of the evening in the Pacific Northwest, about, I don't know, 11:30 or something like that. I don't even know what time it is. But I thought it would be fun to come out here and talk a little bit about how the economy cycles through ups and downs. See, like, I actually, what sparked this whole thing, this video, is that somebody said, why can't they just keep it steady? Like, why can't they just have like this even flow, right? Like where there is no ups and downs, it's just like, just this constant. And I kind of laughed at that a little bit, and I didn't laugh at them when they were saying it. I'm listening to them, and they were kind of actually talking about politics and stuff. So I was just listening, but I heard that, and it was just like, how come we just can't be on this even sail, like, so to speak? And I found this humorous, and it was because, like, I don't want to be on the even. I want to be on an upward trajectory, right? Like, I want to be moving and moving forward and moving upward and moving onward and doing all that stuff. Like, to me, when I heard the question, like, why can't they keep it stable, is because, do you really want a stable economy where you do not have any kind of growth to it, where the idea of getting a better car or a bigger house or being able to go on more vacations or just moving into the luxuries itself is an impossibility? I mean, is that something that really seems feasible? Like, no. Everybody always wants to work hard so they can acquire more, so that they can enjoy that money. That's human nature. It's what we all want to do. And then to go and blame politicians or bankers or greedy corporations or individuals out there for not trying to keep it on an even, steady flow is almost kind of a ridiculous statement to think. Like, it's just like, it's not even feasible, it's not possible, and it's not going to happen because you yourself, the person who was saying it, doesn't want it. Like, literally, it's not within the realms of what they want for themselves. Most people want to be on an upward moving trajectory, right? Like, especially if you're young. Like, the younger you are, the more you want to do it. The older you get, the more you just realize, man, things are just like, the way they are, and you just kind of come to that acceptance of it, and you're trying to maintain. But still, in your heart of hearts, you would like to be moving onward and upward. So when we think about it in the fashion that this economy and any economy and all of life, and whether it's the tides or the weather itself or anything, it's going to be cyclical. Everything is. And so the economy is going to rise and fail no matter what. Like, no matter what. And for some people, they will be able to recognize what it is that's taken place within the economy, so they can position themselves so that they can be, and the best outcome for the situation. Like, maybe it's the job they have to be worried about getting laid off from. Maybe it's the business that they have that may not have customers coming to. It may be the stocks that they hold that, have companies that may fail. It could be anything out there that starts to turn, that turns your way of life. And it's all cyclical, and it's all part of it. It's all part of understanding that this is how it goes. And now, understanding that nothing stays the same means that you have to adapt and change to the current situation that is at place. Because we could be really good at the current situation. We'd be like, man, we're really good at this. We got good business going on. It's really awesome. I'm killing it. I got all the beauty of life happening for me. And then as time goes on, things change, right? But as we don't want to change with it, or the change that is coming doesn't really suit our business or our way of life or our job, we get very frustrated with it, saying, hey, it needs to stay this way. But it wasn't staying the same when you grew into that position. And now that it's moving on, you're wanting to stay the same, but things are changing and moving on. Just like the tide is going to move and the sun is going to set, and, everything else out there. And so failure to adapt and change leads you frustrated and pissed and wanting things to happen politically to try and attempt to keep them the same, right? Which is going to be impossible. No matter what, nothing will ever, ever, ever be the same. Like things will always change from here on out. And so again, like I think about it, how do we adapt to the cycles that are happening, right? We understand that there is a long history of economic forces that are at play, long far beyond just what we have experienced in the last years or decades, but literally centuries, hundreds and hundreds of years, going back thousands of years. We can look back at economic forces and theories that are now playing out today, but they have a different view. They don't look the same as they did back then, right? We have to understand and adapt to what it is that is now occurring so that we can recognize it, so we can best suit ourselves. Because we're not living 100 years ago or 250 years ago like Richard Cantillon was. We're certainly not living back in the 1400s like Gresham, all right? We're living in today's age of cryptocurrencies and cell phones and airplanes and massive communications and social networks and all kinds of stuff that makes a huge difference in the way that the economy operates. But those underlying economic forces, they're still very much at play. And because we recognize and understand these economic forces, the cycles that are coming with them are not unrecognizable. They are very recognizable. We do recognize them for what they are. Yes, they have adapted and changed to the current situations and the technologies that we have, but we do recognize them for what they are. Now, we can cast blame. That's easy enough, right? Blaming things. Oh, sure, man. There's blame to go around. Shit, man. We can sit here and just blame it all day long and have plenty of excuses and evidence and reason for all the blame to go around. But I really have to look at blame as a useless tool out there. Now, it might help in the way of saying, hey, this is how they did it, or this is how it went down, right? And you can use blame in that sort of circumstance. But if you take the analogy of you're out in the middle of the Columbia River and there's a hole in the boat, right? Are you going to sit around blaming each other on how the hole has occurred in the boat? Or are you going to start bailing out the boat and do your best to get back to shore? I mean, you can always argue once you get back to shore about who's to blame, but that doesn't matter at all. Like none. It doesn't matter who's to blame. What we have to do is take action for ourselves in order to survive. That's what you have to do. And that's the point of this channel and learning the theories and understanding all this economic stuff. I mean, take, for example, and I don't mean to be like, criticizing of any other economist out there, because I had somebody who was just like, dude, you're getting really arrogant. Okay, I might sound that way, but I feel like I'm really standing out here a lot on my own. So I'm not going to try and be that way. I'm going to be aware of my arrogance or whatever when I talk. However, I'm looking at this article with a particular economist, and I'll leave a link down in the description for you guys, who was like raising the alarm bells, emergency rate cut, got to do it right now. Look at all the crap that's going down. And he was like prominent out there. Everybody heard him. Right? Not everybody, but a bunch of people heard him. Now, less than 5 days later, it was like 7 days later. I don't even know. He said this on Monday, so it's like not even 5 days later, 4 days later. He's already like backtracking. He was like, okay, well, maybe not an emergency rate cut, but they should still cut. And if they did cut, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But no, they don't need to cut at this point. Like, he totally backed up, right? Went from emergency rate cut, got to do it right now, to, oh, yeah, no, they really don't need to cut. Right? Not an emergency one. And so when this sort of like, when I see this, right, to me, this is the exact same thoughts and attitudes and mentality that I see coming from the politicians, right? Do it now. Do it right now. You got to get it done. Do it now. Where there's a whole game plan being done, right? That this interest rate cut isn't going to really help out, right? And then to really understand that rate cuts don't really work anyway, not in the fashion that a lot of people think that they do. And besides, rate cutting now doesn't really impact the economy for another 6 months to a year. So what would it matter if you did a rate cut other than the psychological impact of it? Right? So understanding that there is no real emergency rate cut unless you are going into some sort of like crisis situation, financial crisis, terrorist crisis, natural disaster crisis of some sort, pandemic kind of thing. Like crisis situation calls for emergency calls for emergency reactions, right? But just willy nilly throw out there a rate cut, that is not something that the Federal Reserve has. Like, they're like, dude, we got this like 15, 20 year long game plan that we have with this strategy. We're not going to go and screw it all up by just throwing around rate cuts. Okay. Like, I mean, everybody should be aware of that. Now, something that I find terribly concerning is how much, and I don't know if it's just, again, more for show or, for, anyway, how much Trump says that he should have some involvement within the Federal Reserve's monetary policy decisions. And now a lot of people think that government is involved within the Fed's monetary policy decisions. If they were, Donald Trump wouldn't be asking for that, right? So he just admits right there to everybody, including his fans and everybody else out there, that the politicians do not have the power, or else he wouldn't be asking for it. Now, what concerns me is that I feel that Donald Trump, right, very much like the other economists down there, would be snapping decisions, which is not part of the game plan. Which, again, like, I don't feel that he has expressed, Donald Trump has expressed how the Federal Reserve is truly conducting their monetary policy. Not in the way that the Uneducated Economist has broken it down. Now, if Donald Trump was communicating things like the neutral interest rate and how the Federal Reserve was losing their monetary policy at the lower bound and using credible threats to, push the monetary policy, if he was expressing all the things that I have expressed through this channel, then I would be like, okay, man, yeah, why don't you go ahead and step up there and throw some political weight around and make some monetary policy decisions if you're on board with the Fed's monetary strategy that they are going with. Not that I agree with it. I'm not saying that I agree with it. What I am saying is that at least you would be on board with the communications of what the FOMC is saying. Like, he communicates nothing of what the FOMC is saying. So I'm like, I can't agree with anything that he has to say about and want to inject himself into monetary policy. If he wants to inject himself into monetary policy, talk about the strategies and talk about how they don't work. Right? But he doesn't talk about the strategies. He talks about a bunch of other shit. So whatever, right? And here's my frustration coming out. So I'm going to let that go. So again, understanding this for ourselves and understanding that it is cyclical in that we can position ourselves. Think about it. Like, there is plenty of people out there who absolutely kill it in downturns, right? There's people out there who do quite well when everybody else is suffering in misery. Okay? And so when I think about everybody else suffering in misery, it's not everybody else. It's a handful of people who were expecting things to stay the same. Those people are suffering because they didn't adapt to the changes that were coming. Right? It's best to understand it. It will always change. It will never be the same. And I was talking to my wife about this earlier. And she says, it's kind of like somebody saying, hey, all that work you did, it's not going to work. What you need to do is you need to take all the paint off the wall and put it back in the can. You can't. Once you've gone this far, you can't put the paint back in the can. It doesn't work like that. You only can add more layers to it to try and cover up what is existing now. That's it. You can only add to it. Like, there's things you can do, like removing the gold standard, but did that remove the economic forces that are underlying at play that separates the rich from the rich from the poor? No. Severing us from the gold standard didn't do that. Right? It actually made it worse. Made it far worse. And to all, when you think about all the things that are occurring out there and why they occur, you have to understand that it grew into that position. Like, it didn't just one day just be there. It was like one day we woke up and it was just like all of a sudden that was like, things are invented one day, like Bitcoin, right? But not everybody understood and knew Bitcoin. Bitcoin had to grow to what it is, right? Just like everything else out there. And if it's going to fail, it can fail very quickly because dying happens slowly. Or, living happens slowly, dying happens fast. And things can die slowly in a cyclical way if you think about it. I mean, they can be a slow dying death of something. I mean, not saying that that doesn't occur out there either, but when you think about it in market crashes, that's a dying fast, right? They say like the bull climbs the stairs and the bear jumps out the window. Right? And I think that's probably good to understand, like, how that cycle works as well. All right, did I babble on long enough? Oh, where are my glasses? Did I bring those out here? What do you guys want to talk about? We were into it for 15 minutes. I think that's really good for a lot of people. Right on, 196 people watching. Go hit that like button. Let's see if we can get it up to 400 or 500 people watching tonight. That would be a lot of fun. Let's cruise down here and get into the middle of the chat. Thank you all for being here too. All right. Remember to like folks. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, put on a life jacket. Good analogy, Yui. Thank you. I don't know how to swim. I'll stay on shore. All right. Few see the origin of the problem, so they cast blame where they see the symptoms, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. And that's just the thing. Like, everybody, like even I myself will blame. Like I can only, go so far and say, hey man, it's their fault, it's them fault. They shouldn't have done this or they should have done that. And everybody can't help it. You're gonna blame. Like, if you see something wrong, you're gonna say, hey man, this needs to be fixed, right? And if it's broken, you're gonna be like, hey man, somebody did that, right? So if your life is broke or something happened to it, then you're gonna want to find blame for that. You're gonna be like, "What the hell, dude? Whose excuse is this, right? Or who's the one that I blame, or who has an excuse for this, or reason?" And you know what's a really good book? It's a really simple one that actually is pretty good for this. Is Who Moved My Cheese? You guys ever hear of that book? It's a simple little tiny. It's like I don't know. It's actually that's one of the few books I've actually read now that I think about it. Okay, so of the 5 books I've read, Who Moved My Cheese is actually one of them, and it's a cool little parable about 2 little people and 2 mice who run through a maze, and having to deal with change because what ends up happening is that these 2 mice and these 2 little people inside of this parable end up inside of just what they refer to as a cheese factory where they can have all the cheese they want. Now, the cheese is a metaphor for whatever it is in life that you want, like, the house, the job, the money, the what fame, whatever it is, right? So that's the analogy for the cheese. And like every day they show up to this factory, right? The mice and the little people. Well, each one of these characters has a little bit different kind of like mindset to them. You got Hem and Haw, they're the 2 little people inside of them, and like Hem, he's really like kind of like a arrogant, bossy type, really, like into himself. The other one's kind of like you can tell, like be family man or something like that, kind of, wanting to live the normal life-ish kind of thing. Right, yeah, the one big house, big hill. Right. And then the mice, well, they're sniff and scurry, and they just kind of just run around, right? They just kind of one of them sniffs out ahead of time, and the other one runs real fast, right? Or sniffs out which direction to go, and the other one runs ahead and tries to find the cheese. And this is how they make their way through the maze. Well, they all ended up in Cheese Factory, and they just love it there, right? So they're showing up there every day, just loving life. And the 2 little people, like they just like grow accustomed to it. They're like, man, this is it, man. We found it. We're in it. We got all the cheese. We're happy as can be, right? Now, Sniff and Scurry, they were a little bit different. They had these tennis shoes on and they took them off and they hung them around their neck, right? They didn't go and like take their tennis shoes off and go and side them away. They hung them around their neck because they knew that they would probably need these things. Well, one day they show up at the cheese factory. Sure enough, there's no cheese there. Sniff and Scurry, bam, right back into their shoes, off into the maze they go. They didn't even think twice about it. Now, Hem and Haw, they're pissed, right? They're pissed. They get to the cheese factory and they can't take it. They're like, where the hell is our cheese? Right? Now remember, this is a metaphor for life, right? All the things, your relationship, your house, your job, whatever the hell it is, right? This is the metaphor for it. And they show up there and they're pissed and they just sit around casting blame, trying to figure out where the hell the cheese went. Right? And this is what most people end up facing. And that's where the book really starts to teach the lessons of moving on with your fears. It's like facing your fears and getting out there into the maze and going searching out for new jobs and new stuff like that. But it's such a great little story because it just makes so much sense. Like, it's funny to see the people out there who, like, I've seen people who like who will get fired and then like it devastates them, right? They like, it'll be down for a long time and they can't get back on their, and like it's just a horrible event for them. Other people, they have a job by the end of the day and they don't even think twice about it. They're like, whatever, bang, off and running they go, right? So you got hem and haw, you got sniff and scurry, and it's a great little story. Anybody who hasn't read Who Moved My Cheese should really read that. It's a great story about change, how to deal with change. All right, moving on. How's the house and renovations may not felt like it, but you purchased at the right time. Um, what is that, vacation time? I love it. Vacation time, you're absolutely right. Um, no, I haven't done a whole lot yet. I'm still saving up to get the roof done. I want to get the roof done most, so I'm like trying to put money into anything else is a little difficult. But I'm about halfway there right now. Things came up over the last couple of years, so it's like, medical things and just like, stupid excuses and stuff. So I was really hoping to do it this summer. It doesn't look like I'm going to get it done. So next summer is going to be like the major, project of getting the roof done. At the same time, I'm going to really build out the patio area as well and turn that into like outdoor kitchen and do it upright. So there's going to be some really fun stuff with that. So I don't know, maybe I'll do videos on the roof replacement. Maybe I'll fly all-nighter up to help me out with it. Because I got one more roof in me and then that's it. I ain't doing them no more. Because I don't want to do them. All right. Will the economy be better with Harris or Trump? Your economy? Why not? I mean, oh, I'm sorry. Are you a Trump or Harris fan? I guess I should ask that first, because really it's going to come down to your subconscious beliefs of what it is that's taking place within the economy, because anybody can make it during any time. I don't care what the conditions are. A good or bad economy is literally the meaning that you're giving it, right? There is no good or bad economy. It just is what it is. And you can position yourself accordingly. Like that's all there is to it. Like you can understand that the position that you have could be a failing position and be okay with that. Like if it fails, I'm okay. I'll just sit tight and it may come back. I'll feel it'll come back, right? Like maybe a cryptocurrency kind of mindset, or maybe a stock or something like that. But be aware of it. Like the moment that it goes the other way and you're like I was well in the mind to have this house go underwater. Like I was mentally prepared for a house that went underwater. It didn't happen. It went completely the other way. So just like Vacation was saying there, it completely went the other way, and it's all about the meaning you're going to give it, right? So I was giving it this meaning. It was like, I'm going to sit tight in this house no matter what. No matter what I was going to. It didn't matter what happened, right? Whether it went down or up or whatever. I didn't know it was going to gain $100,000 in equity while I was sitting in it. That to me was just like, well, it didn't. It was like it dropped quite a bit. So what is it now? $70,000 in equity, right? So like, I didn't know that was going to happen. And I didn't think that was going to happen. And the meaning that I'm giving it right now is it doesn't really matter that it happened, right? Because I don't plan on doing anything with that, because I'm living in this house and I still have to pay the mortgage payment no matter what the house value did. It's like that doesn't mean anything, and I don't plan on taking equity out, and I don't plan on selling it. So none of that has any meaning to me anymore. And people are like, you're only a house bull because you bought a house. No, I'm not a house bull because I bought a house. I'm a house bull because that's what's happening, much to the surprise of everybody out there, right? Like I was under the impression, just like everybody else, that once you raise the interest rates, the house prices would come down. It made sense. Like it totally made sense. Like, yeah, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, if interest rates come down, house prices go up. Interest rates go up, house prices should come down. Interest rates went up and house prices went up. Wait a minute. Oh, that's right. Interest rates don't really work like they used to anymore. Okay, so let's excuse the interest rates for just a second and think about other reasons why it went up. Mainly is because of inventory or the lack thereof, right? And the fact that, people really don't want to leave a low interest rate to go and take out a loan on a high interest rate. So again, the mortgage movement, very slow, right? Now, not taking that really into consideration in the sense that it happened so dramatically fast, right? Like those interest rates shot up so fast. If it was really slow and, and it took time, they went up over the course of 3 years or something like that, people would be very used to it as it went up. We would have a whole different outcome. Of course, it probably, that wouldn't have been the scenario or the strategy to fight inflation or whatever. But I'm just saying, if that was like a hypothetical thing that happened, right? People would be very accustomed to it. But interest rates shot up very fast, very quickly, and everybody went, what? Right? And so they were like, they just froze into place. And like, you don't believe it, just ask a mortgage lender out there. They were suffering hardcore. All those poor mortgage agents, right? I mean, I shouldn't say that. There were probably a lot of them, and I'm sure they were really good people, but I think about it, when the house flipping thing was happening so fast, it was just like, it's unrealistic to have a house sitting on the market for hours. It needs to sit on the market for months. That's normal, right? That's normal-ish things, right? Not like an hour a day selling for well over, asking price. That's abnormal. So when we see things that are normal and they're not the way they used to be, we think normal's abnormal. But it's normal. This is normal. This is normal stuff. This is the way the economy normally operates. No, not like this. But you know what I mean? Is it's like it doesn't operate when you got like, people making $1 million off of their houses over the course of like 6 months. It's just ridiculous to think about. It's like, that's not right. And this is the evidence of it when you have such, obscurities happening within the economy due to the fact that we have a fiat-based currency that has expanded to the level that it has. This is the dramatic effects of separation between the rich and the poor from continuous new money pouring into the system. And it's sad to say, but there's really nothing that can be done about it. Like, I mean, nothing that isn't going to be incredibly painful anyway. I don't know if I put my glasses. Are those the ones? I forgot about the trap. Oh, what trap? Alright. Any news about Japan? I don't know. I honestly think that Japan is probably like after the carry trade unwind starts to happen, because I mean, you think about it, like Japan has had these ultra low interest rates for so long. So borrowing Japanese yen and then going and lend it to into the U.S. Treasury or into anything really out there, you can just start putting it in all kinds of positions. That's probably been pretty significant for a long time, and so to unwind that's going to take some time and it's going to be painful. But like a lot of people might think of it as like the triggering event that I just don't see that being the triggering event that really starts to collapse the whole economy, simply because I believe that the banking system is well aware of it, right? And that's just the thing. If we can discuss it, if we can break it all down, if we can talk about it in the fashion that is like, this is going to happen, this is all the thing, then there's 150 economists over at the Federal Reserve who are also discussing things such as that, right? Like, they're not going to sit around going, oh man, I can't believe they were talking about this on the internet and we didn't hear about it, right? Like, it doesn't go down like that. And it's foolish to think that it does. So anytime we ever hear, read, think, or talk about anything out here on YouTube or anything that we see, the Federal Reserve is well aware of it, right? And so is the rest of the central banking system. So knowing that they have things well prepared to deal with crisis situations, very much like during the great financial crisis, they deployed quantitative easing, but they had talked about quantitative easing back in 2002. I mean, we know about this through Ben Bernanke's speech, right? Deflation and how to prevent it from ever occurring. They knew they would go into asset purchases. They knew that they would be, using forward guidance and signaling and all that. It was dropping the interest rates to the lower bound of zero, which would then make their monetary policy ineffective. They knew all that. They knew all of it way back in 2002. And they had to have been theorizing about it way before that in order for them to come up with the ideas of that they did for Ben Bernanke to have that speech. Like, so you have to think about it. They've been thinking about it way before that. They knew the lower bound of zero was coming a long time ago. Do you think that they were caught by surprise? Like, do you think the setting up of the communications in order to project the narrative out there in all directions through particular conduits to a particular demographics, which we learned about earlier today? I mean, it wasn't by accident. None of it was. Like, we can go back and read about how they knew this was coming. Again, it's all cyclical, right? They know that they were going to eventually hit the lower bound of zero and that they would have to figure out a way to deal with monetary policy in a very unique and absolutely, how do I call it? Unorthodox. There we go. Unorthodox way. Okay. And now it's becoming normal, right? To know that the Federal Reserve uses the forward guidance signaling jawboning. And now it's starting to, like, come out in the media. Like, I'm loving seeing it. Like, I mean, I'm actually excited to see people taking on the idea that the words coming from the Federal Reserve has more of an impact on the economy than the actual interest rate adjustments do, right? And by seeing people say and talk about how impactful their words are on markets and how that forward guidance is issued out. I mean, essentially, that's exactly what it is, a treatment to the economy. And by the way and how that is being done is now starting to be starting to be communicated and have the conversation out there on the mainstream media. It's not clear. You have to recognize it, you have to see it, but they're starting to do it. And I'm actually excited to see it because it's proving my theories right. It's just solidifying my ideas of, like, man, this is actually happening the way that I believe it was going down. And I'm not trying to be arrogant about that because I'm not trying to be that way. But I can't find anybody else who's really communicating it. So when I do see those things, it's like, yes, right on. Finally, they're starting to do it. They're starting to talk about it. And to me, the more that, and the thing is like, I know that when they do talk about this, they're going to put it out there in a misguided they're going to inform it in a misguided way so that people don't truly understand how it works. That's why, again, with this channel and the things that we have talked about, we are fine-tuning it so that misguided information that they put out there to try and throw people off the scent, we'll stay on it. We will recognize that because we see it. We can see it plain as day. All right, 240 people. Nice. Go hit that like button. We got 120 people liked. We can get it up to 200, no problem. So go hit that like button, guys. We'll get more people up in the chat. Have you ever considered buying platinum bullion opposed to gold? Take into consideration of the platinum gold ratio, and it's, why am I doing this? Why did I try so hard? Okay. The platinum gold ratio and its significance rather than gold in the geographic problems sourcing product. Okay, no, I don't. Now I do own a little tiny bit of platinum. Like, when I mean a little bit, like, I mean a little tiny bit. But I don't, and in fact, I don't. I would hold platinum closer to gold than I would hold, like, say, platinum to silver or gold to silver. Like, silver by far is the best one, right? And now for two reasons, right? Number one, it's way undervalued when it comes to gold. Like, even the ratio to gold to silver ratio, it's ridiculously low, right? So I mean I guess the high, how are you looking at it? But the price for silver is ridiculously low comparatively to gold. So that's number one reason. Number two, right, is that if you go to liquidate or you need just a little bit of money, you're hungry, right? You need gas for the car, you need, whatever. You just need a little bit of money. Well, if you got a platinum coin, you got I mean, especially if it's an ounce, you got a lot of money. Same with gold. You got a whole lot of money, right? And that makes it difficult. So if you have small little tiny pieces of gold, well, then it maybe not so bad. But then you have to have like this little tiny piece of gold, and you have to find somebody who's going to trust you enough to buy that little piece of gold without thinking it's a fake, right? Now, again, that may not be too difficult for a lot of people, and in a time in which that maybe trading gold, that may not be too difficult. Now, if you had a piece of silver, on the other hand, like I can take a piece of silver right now, go into any town in anywhere in the United States and just about probably anywhere in the world, and I can go into a bar or coffee shop or something and politely show people a silver eagle or a Canadian maple leaf or, a Philharmonic or something, right? And say, hey, I need 20 bucks for gas. Huh? I may not get spot price for it, but I can instantly, almost instantly liquidate that coin and have some money to buy food, buy gas, whatever. I may not get the spot price for it. I might, maybe I will. Who knows? Maybe I'll ask for spot price and have to take it down some. But the idea that I can unload that coin just about anywhere, anytime, is pretty much the only thing you'll have that can do that. Like, I don't think you could do that with gold. I don't think you can do that with Bitcoin. I don't think you could do that with anything, right? Outside of a silver coin. I think the silver coin is by far the number one most unique bartering item or barterable item out there that you can have, right? Like firearms is a pretty good one, ammunition is a pretty good one, but then again, you're like limited to those who are interested in firearms. You might be in an area that is totally prevalent, but that's not everywhere in the United States. You drop anywhere in the United States with a few silver coins, and you know what you're doing. You could probably unload those things within a matter of a few hours, and you can have money and you'll eat. You'll have gas, right? So I don't look at platinum and gold on the same level as I do silver. Silver is by far the best. There's nothing else out there that's close to silver. Silver stands alone, all by itself. It's the best, I mean, that's about beyond everything. Like, I mean, Bitcoin, real estate, whatever, right? And the main reason for that is it gets the only thing that gets you out of the third party claim. My house is a third party claim. Like, no matter what, I owe a bank, and at the end of it, even if I was to owe it, I owe taxes, and then on top of that, I have to rely on government for property rights. So no matter what, it's not mine, and then I can't break a piece of it off and sell it. So, like, it's okay, it's a good one, but it's not as good as silver. Right? And so anything else out there, stocks, bonds, no matter what it is, right? It's all a third party claim. Only silver is outside of a third party claim. Silver, gold, and all the rest of the precious metals. But it stands alone. It's the best. All right. Back with any tips or advice you'd give to new fathers? My balls. Great name. I don't know, man. I gotta kind of, I mean, as far as for me, I guess be there, man. Be there and enjoy as much as you can, right? Enjoy the crying when it happens, because it'll come to an end and you won't get it anymore. It won't be there. And one day you'll be like in an airport or something like that, and you'll hear a baby crying, and you'll be like, it'll remind you of when your baby was crying in an airport one time, right? It's like, I kid you not, man. And at the time you don't like it, right? Because you're like, oh God, man, will you just stop crying, right? But and when they're done, when they're not doing that anymore, it's over, and that's it, and you miss it. Right? So enjoy it, man. Enjoy every bit of it. Be there, man. Be there for it. And because like I feel like I really wasn't there for a lot for my oldest kid, right? I was so busy trying to get things done or do stuff or whatever. I just don't feel like I was really there, and I feel like I missed that, right? So if it was for me, that's one thing that I guess for me, that would be a piece of advice that I would do, is just be there, man. Be there for all of it and enjoy all of it. Like it's all about the meaning you give. Remember that, man. Like for me, I was really frustrated with things at the time, especially with my youngest, because I was so broke and drunk and doing all kinds of stuff. So it just like the experience of it wasn't as good as it could have been, right? Or should have been. Right? And it's not hard to make that experience right. All you have to do is just be there and just be in good energy with it. That's it, man. I mean, so you'll figure it out. Yeah. Nobody does it right. Nobody's gonna do it right. Like I don't care. And that's the thing. Like I had some buddies who had some really messed up parents. Like I don't even want to talk about like what. Anyway, they turned out really good. I'm thinking back when we were in school, I'm thinking, bro, you don't have a chance, right? But then like they got out away from the parents, started working, had responsibilities, took care of business. Next thing you know, they got a family and stuff going on, and it was like, dude, you turned out awesome, right? Like, how did that happen when you came from such crappy upbringing, you know? So I've seen the opposite too. I've seen, I had some other buddies, friends. Some of them, like, they had a good life. Like they had everything good, right? And now, they're just drunk losers, they don't do nothing. And so it goes either way. And there's nothing you can do to force it, right? You can only do your best. You can only like operate the best at the level of consciousness that you're operating at. You just do the best you can, and that's all you can do, right? And when you look back and you be like, man, I made some horrible mistakes. Hey, that was the lesson, right? And you think about it. Everyone, no matter who it is on this planet as a teacher to you. Even your kids. Your kids are teachers, right? Like everybody around you, they're all teaching you. So what is it you need to learn? Because they're there. That's what they're doing, every day. Let's go check out the bottom here, right? Work minimum wage, live in a car, huh? Forever. When the car breaks, time to sleep on the streets. No, that doesn't really sound that great. Wakes you up early in your life. All right, it's 3:15 a.m. This is a pleasant surprise since nothing ever happens when I can't sleep. Yeah, right. Love everyone unconditional. Yeah, well, that's just the thing. Like, I mean, the more I realize, again, like, I've told you guys this in the past, is like, I tried to figure out what the hell happened to me here when this YouTube channel was taken off, because I didn't, I wasn't expecting anything like, have this whole different thing happen in your life that just totally changes the course of like what is going down, right? I mean, it was an incredible thing. And really, it comes down to it comes down to the thoughts and feelings that you are carrying. Literally, that's it. It's the thoughts that you have, and a lot of it, it comes from being we're really a victim of our circumstances. Is really what I mean. I'm not trying to give excuses out there, but that's really what it is. Whether it's the way that our parents raised us, or the life that we just lived, or whatever, that comes down the way the social impacts hit us. All that stuff, we end up in a situation in which we just simply just don't understand what's going on. Like, we just don't know. And with that, our mind just automatically goes into assumptions. And so we end up assuming a lot of things. And when we assume, it isn't always exactly like clear, and it's not like, I don't know how to say this. It's not something that you can really Here's the thing. When I think about some of the things that I was thinking about prior to quitting drinking, I used to think a lot of negative thoughts about other people, and not even realizing I was. Like, I didn't, like, when you would speak to me, like, I was a nice guy. I'd hang out. I wouldn't, like, people liked hanging out with me and stuff like that. But internally, I wasn't thinking really good thoughts. right? And subconsciously, you will then create a world around you that is suited to those thoughts. And that's really what ends up happening. So, like, a lot of it was political mindset. Like, I had a very negative political mindset, a lot of blame, um, accusing, a lot of accusation kind of stuff. And then on top of that, like, I wouldn't really think about things that would advance me. Like, I would think about things that were holding me back from advancing. And so these were the things I would not only think about, but then I would look for evidence of it as well. So that right there is the number one reason why I was not doing well. It was just literally those thoughts. Like, I tried hard at work. Like, I worked good. I had a good job. Like, I worked hard. I worked construction. I was a foreman on a job site and stuff like that. I made pretty decent money doing that. But it didn't matter because, like, chasing all that excellence all day was just completely unwound every single night when I would go and get hammered, right? And during those times of sitting there working, I would work hard thinking about my job, doing my job, get it all done. Man, great job. Here's your paycheck. Wonderful. Go think about horrible stuff all the rest of the time, right? And again, it wasn't necessarily all horrible stuff, but if it wasn't like negative political mindset stuff that wasn't really advancing me, it was goofy nonsense bullshit that didn't really, have any kind of intellect to it at all. So, like, that was my life. That was the way I was living. And what really got me is that I had a little tiny hobby of like coin collecting and currencies and kind of looking at money. And it's just like it was just a small since I was a kid, like a little kid. Like I loved like I would always collect the wheat pennies and just stuff like that. And so when I got the internet and started studying into economics, I loved it. I mean, I just found it very intriguing. And I would just study economics and I would try and share some of my ideas and thoughts with people. But most of the time it would just turn into political. And since I really loved talking politics, that's all we would end up talking about and never really got any kind of good economic info ever. Right. And eventually, once you quit drinking and I gave that all up, and I didn't really have like those kind of thoughts of like, being at the bar and hanging out there. I was just like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Why am I losing my house? Why am I losing all this other stuff? Right. You know, I mean, I had already, like, by that time, I had already lost my house and everything, but I was still drinking. But eventually, once I gave that drinking up, right, and I had all this, like, basic research not basic research, a lot of research that I had done just from studying for fun, and I started the YouTube channel, right? And even the early days of the channel, it was pretty amateur stuff, right? Just talking all kinds of weird stuff. I go back and I watch those videos and I'm like, oh my gosh. I laugh at myself so hard. I mean, it was 7 years ago, right? Or going on 7 years. So things change, right? I mean, I look back at those videos and I'm like, man, I was like, geez, I'm surprised anybody listens to you today, with some of the things I was talking about. But I don't hide from that. Like I'm glad I have those videos out there. I'm glad to see them. Like to think, like, man, that's where I was, and here I am today, man. This is part of the process right through here. And and now, like, I don't think about like I think about how money flows. I think about how to make money flow. Like, you know, I want to thank everybody who signed up for Patreon as far as like a member to the channel. Like I'm trying to promote the membership to the YouTube channel, but people keep signing up for Patreon. Right? Thank you for signing up for Patreon. I feel like bad because I haven't posted anything there for months, right? But people stick with it, They throw $1 a month at Patreon for me. And I think about how that money flows. Like there was a time that I didn't have anything like that going on. Like I would think about how it was that I had another bill. Like there would be another. That's what I would think. It's just like all I have is bills coming to me. But now, like I don't think about that. Like I think I can pay my bills. That's cool as hell. Like that's After that, like, when people are like, what would you do if you had $1 million? I have no idea. Like, I really don't, because paying my bills is cool, and that's what I was wanting to do. After that, I don't know, man. Like, I'd go travel, I guess. Like, I would travel around. Like, that's the only thing I can really think of. Like, because I don't want toys. I don't care less. Maybe I would buy that Camaro. I don't know. But, after that, like, I don't know. I'd have to get accustomed to actually saying, "Hey, man, why don't you get material possessions and enjoy some toys?" Like, and you're like, "What the hell's that like?" All right, let's check out the super chat. What we got here? $1. These glasses terrible. Those other ones. Here they are. There we go. Based midnight stream. Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Well, we got 95 people watching right now, so. We guys, I mean, here we are in the middle of the night enjoying live stream talking. Let's keep hitting that like button. Let's get more people joining in. Wow, you're up late tonight. Yeah, I really am. First things first, solve the money problem. What's the money problem? I don't understand what the money problem is. Like your money problem, right? Because I don't have a money problem. I mean, I kind of have a money problem. No, I really don't. I don't have a money problem. I don't know what money problem is, right? Because like I look at money like silver and gold, Bitcoin to a lesser extent, that's money, right? Like not even Bitcoin, like silver and gold is money. Everything else is some sort of debt or a third party claim, right? Somehow. Bitcoin on a lesser extent. Like, Bitcoin, I guess it would be leaning just slightly more towards the money side, but everything else is a currency, right? And that's what it is. It's currency. Like, so it's not meant to store value. It's not meant to do anything else. And like other than transfer goods and services to other goods and services. That's it. Like that's all it's meant to do. And as much as we wish and hope and dream and pray that it would do something different, it's not going to. It's like that's not what it does. It's just a currency. So I don't know what problem needs to be fixed. I mean, what is it? Like, people say, well, like, the inflation problem. Well, that is coming down. And inflation was something that they needed in order to save their monetary policy from ruin. So understanding that inflation actually was part of the Fed's policy to save their asses, right? Yeah, and it was a painful experience and it hurt a lot of people and all kinds of stuff. But the pain that we would have experienced of the Fed failing altogether would have been far greater than the painful experience of the inflation that we have experienced over the last few years. I'm ready for it. Like, I'm not trying to defend the Fed. Like, I mean, a lot of people hear that and they think that I am. I'm not, right? I'm not defending the Fed. I'm ready to go ahead and let the Fed fail. In fact, by spreading the information I do, if everybody knew it, the Fed would fail, right? So what I am doing is the number one thing that everybody would need to do in order to kill the Fed off, right? Would be to take in the information to the level that I have with their monetary policy. Understanding it to this level would then mean they couldn't conduct it anymore, right? So again, like I look at money and currency as two different things. And so fixing the currency thing, I don't know what that would be. Why do you need to fix the currency? They're already trying to fix the currency from failure. Right? It's our jobs to take the currency and move it into positions that will be best for us, whether it's moving it into real money like silver and gold or into Bitcoin or moving it into stocks and bonds, moving it into rental properties, moving it into a business, right? But moving it into cash is a very dangerous place unless you are anticipating buying opportunities coming into the future. And I believe that those things are coming. And in fact, I think they're always there. So being positioned in cash is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Right? Being like cash is king. When somebody says, hey man, I got this thing for sale for $1,000, you're like, I got $800 right here, right now. All right? Money talks. So when you have cash in hand, you not only have the number one item of all drug dealings and illegal activities and all taxes that are getting paid in the United States. It's dollars, cash, cold hard cash, right? Now, here's something that's very interesting, and I left a link down in the description of this video. Federal Reserve notes. have first lien paramount right. First paramount lien right, whatever, I forget how it's stated, right? I left a link down in the description to the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve notes, when a Federal Reserve bank fails, if it was to fail, the Federal Reserve notes themselves, not bank deposits, not reserves, not treasuries, not any of that stuff. Federal Reserve notes have first lien paramount right to the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. That's their SDRs, their gold, whatever it is that they have on that balance sheet. Right? Federal Reserve notes in hand. So that's very important to understand and know about, because nobody really takes into consideration that all the money printing isn't the same as holding cash if there was a failure to take place. See, cash is the ultimate. It's out of all the things that we have to do a transaction with, the Federal Reserve note and cash is by far the best out there, and there's nothing else that even remotely comes close to it. I'm not happy about that. It's just the way it is, right? And so therefore, I'm not giving it meaning that it's a bad thing. It's just an is. It's just the way it is. And now we have to deal with it in the way it is. So it's not a thing that needs to be fixed. Fixed what? What do you think it needs to be fixed? If you need it to be fixed, go and get into gold and silver. Then it's fixed. You don't have any problems. Your economy is fixed. Right? Like, I mean, it's easy enough. You don't have to have an expectation that they need to fix your economy. You can fix your own economy. Just go and get into the gold and silver, and then it's fixed. As simple as that. But I don't look at it that way. I look at it much differently. I'm like diversely spread out everywhere, because at any given time something can fail, and if it does, it'd be like, oh well, that sucks and it hurts. But is it devastating? Hell no. I got all this other stuff going on, you know? I mean, not all this other stuff. I'm just positioned in all kinds of other ways that, you know, if one thing happens, if crypto fails tomorrow, it'll be like, dang, ow. Oh, well, moving on, you know? I mean, literally, that's it, you know? Why do I keep putting these damn glasses? Are these the ones I'm wearing? Alright. My uncle used to say, when one door closes, another one opens. Awesome guy, terrible carpenter. My wife has me hooked on Costco. Time to smoke while listening to this. Yeah, and go light them up, man. All right. That's funny. All right, let's cruise down here to the bottom. Man, 300 people watching, 171 likes. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. Simon, why don't you admit the possibility the Fed just straight lying and pumping money into the system without anyone knowing? Okay, Clear Glass Studios. Hey, I tell you what, why don't you present to me the evidence that is not coming from some, wacko job YouTuber out there who's just claiming that's to be the case. Can you please provide me with something that says that? Any kind of documentation that proves that that's what they are up to. As far as I can tell from everything that I know of the quantitative tightening that is happening out there, is it going exactly the opposite direction with that. They are not pumping money directly into the system. They are pulling money out of the system. They are shrinking the balance sheet. They are taking money off the table. Now, is there all kinds of manipulative tactics that they can go within the banking system that says, oh no, look, they can inject money here, there, and all that? Okay, fine, whatever. Those things, those little... I'm not trying to say... Let me see if I put this right. I'm not trying to say those things don't happen. They're not happening to the point that is so significant that you have the quantitative easing kind of positions happening. That's significant, right? That's obvious. Asset purchases going into massive buying of U.S. treasuries. If they're not out there buying those U.S. treasuries, but instead unwinding those U.S. treasuries, they're no longer the buyer, right? And then what do you end up seeing? You end up seeing the prices fall and the yields rise. This is exactly what it is that they were intending on doing. They didn't change anything about their position. You notice this? They didn't change anything about the asset purchases or the unwinding of the assets. right? Meaning the treasuries and the mortgage-backed securities unwinding off the balance sheet. When that happens, that's literally dollars coming back to the Federal Reserve, and unless they put that back into the economy, they disappear. So this is how the quantitative tightening is happening. Right? So I forgot what I was going to say with that, but where was I going with that? Anyway. Oh, that's it. So you see, like, even though they haven't changed anything about that unwinding of the balance sheet, they're still doing it at the same pace. The perception in the market all of a sudden said, "Holy crap, what's going on here? Get out of stocks, get into bonds." Yields fell. Well, those yields falling started having real impact on the economy. You started seeing mortgage rates coming down and people refinancing their homes. Now, a small handful of people got to take advantage of those little tiny interest rate drops. That is not going to impact the economy. Not in a significant way. It impact a handful of people's economy, their individual economy, those people, right? They got a slightly better interest rate than they were able to get the week before or next week, right? Because the interest rates are going to go back up after everybody regains their senses, right? Because that's exactly what's happening right now. Everybody's like, oh shit, there's no changes to anything. Why do we go and flip out, right? So once everybody regains their senses, right, and the interest rates go back to where they may or may not, have been before, but obviously not going to be as low as they were last week when everybody was panicking and getting into the bonds, getting into the U.S. Treasuries, driving down the yields, which in turn would drive down the yields in mortgage-backed securities and credit cards and car loans and everything else out there. But the small amount of time that those lower interest rates, the slightly lower interest rates were in the economy will have very little impact. I mean, only a handful of people have to take advantage of that. And that's like not enough to actually impact the broader economy in any kind of significant way. Their small individual economy was impacted by it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to assume that the Federal Reserve is going to be printing money and putting things in and not tell anybody about it and be all, secretive if I don't have any evidence of that. Like, that doesn't, like, it's not how I do it, there is nothing that I say that I don't have evidence for. That's why it makes it so easy for me to, be so confident in a lot of stuff that I talk about and be confident in the monetary policy argument, like so confident that I would be willing to debate anybody on monetary policy right now. I don't care who they are, right? Oh, because I didn't make it up, right? I don't have to, I didn't make this stuff up. This is the facts of the matter, and I left the links down in the description of every single one of my videos, So it's like, to me, it's easy. I just have to remember it. That's all. It's like I don't have to make it up or try to understand it in some kind of special way or whatever. I just have to understand it for what it really is, and that's not that hard, right? I mean, it is hard, because it's long and complicated. But understanding it for what it really is, there's only one way. It's just one thing, right? It's the way it is, and most people give it different meaning, and so they look at it and they say, no, this is the way it is, and they blow these things way out of proportion, and then they say, well, they're secretly and pumping money into the system and all this other stuff. And it's just like, what do you guys get out of here, man? That's not what's happening, right? I mean, to me, it was just like, I say something and people are like, how do you know that? And I'd be like, well, it's right there in the speech, right? It's right there in this article. It's right here in this, in this link that I have, because I don't expect anybody to believe me ever. None. I don't expect anybody to believe a single word I say. I've said that since day one when I started this channel. If you go and you read the about section of my info, as far as the channel description goes, I said it right in there. I have no reason for anybody to believe anything that I am saying. Not anything. And I don't expect them to. The link is down in the description. Go judge it for yourself, All right, I wouldn't pay back any debt that's been occurred through usury and interest, since we aren't dealing with moral people. No need to pay their game. Well, no need to play their game. Well, I don't know, man. I mean, because here's the thing. By that same attitude, that means I wouldn't loan my money to anybody so they could start their business, so they can start their pizza parlor up. That's what you're saying. right? Because I would expect an interest rate, off of that, right? I would expect, maybe an interest rate and part owner in the business because it's all my capital. It's all my time, my hard work, everything that I've done for the last 20, 30 years. I'm about ready to hand it over to this dude so he can start a pizza parlor up, and I'm not going to like get anything out of that. Like, no, I want a lot for that. I want just as much. Or else I'll keep my capital. I'll go find some other place. Right? I mean, I'm taking on a lot of risk. Is that usury? I mean, I don't think so, man. I mean, that's capitalism, bro. Like, you have a good idea and I have the money. Let's get together. Right? I mean, we can both win at this. I mean, yeah, I'm going to make a lot of money off of you making money with my money. I make more money with my money. That's how I do it. That's called capitalism. Now, you want to share in this? Let's do it, But if you think that's usury, well, then go find somebody else, man. I'm going to go find somebody who's going to actually partner up with me so I can make money off of my money. That's not a bad thing. Like, that's not bad. That's a good thing, right? Let's get together. Let's make your idea happen, And I think that's a good thing. But but if you don't think that I should profit heavily off of that, then I'm going to go find someplace else to put my money. That's it. I'm sorry, If you want to make deals between people, then fine, but banks use interest and usury to enslave people. Okay, great, man. I didn't have to buy this house. I want to live in a house. Now, granted, I am not happy with the system. I don't like it. I don't like anything about it. But you know what? It's not up for me to like. It's not up for me to say, hey, has shit. I'm not going to participate in this. I'm not going to live in a house. I'm not going to be part of this at all. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to say, hey, kids, you just get your own room. That's pretty cool. I'm going to work damn hard so that you two boys can have your own room. And that's not going to be easy because they got the system set up in a way that makes it very difficult for the average person to get into a home anymore. That sucks. That sucks to know that for the average person, it sucks for them to have, like, even a good job sucks for them. They can't get into a home. That sucks. There's nothing good about that system. I'm not happy about it. Thank God that I have a house that I can have my kids sleeping in their own room. Right? Now, if I didn't have a bank right now that was willing to lend me money, I wouldn't be living this way. So again, I'm giving it the meaning that I'm happy. I'm glad this is happening to me. It sucks for a lot of people. It sucks in a lot of ways. And I recognize that. And I know that anybody who put their mind to it can do the things that I've done because, believe me, I was a loser at 40 years old who had nothing going on, man. All right? Here it is, 8 years later, life completely changed around. I think about somebody who's 18 years old, all right? You got so much opportunity ahead of you. You can screw up everything for the next 10 years. Nobody's going to care. You got plenty of time, all right? 40 years old, you can't screw up not 1 second of it, all right? Not one. And when you realize that you can't screw up not 1 second of it, then you stop changing pleasurable things. You start chasing excellence, and you stop blaming externals. You get rid of your expectations. All of a sudden, the world starts opening up, and good things happen to you. You realize your economy is different from everybody else's out there. Everybody's economy is different from everybody else's. I'm a loser with $70,000 in the bank. Oh, that's cool. All right, you can buy a portable home cheap, buy cheap property in country, will be safer there anyway. In USA, getting home from work. But that's not how it works anymore. Your work and your money are debased by oversupply of newly minted debt. Well, Miles, what are you expecting? I mean, do you have an expectation that is something that is beyond what is occurring today? I mean, because if you do, then you're living in an expected world. Like that's too bad, man, because your expectations will never be achieved. right? And so, yeah, it sucks. That sucks, man. Right. Living in a debased world with all this crap. Okay, that sucks. Robert Kiyosaki takes that money, he goes and buys cash flowing assets with that, and he just keeps borrowing money and keeps buying cash flowing assets with it, and he keeps borrowing money and he keeps buying cash flowing assets with it, and he's separated himself so much from everybody else, and he says, why isn't everybody else doing this? I mean, right? Yeah, we live in a debt-based fiat currency world. There's some people who have really figured that thing out. Like every single person that I know at the Rebel Capitalist are sitting around going, why doesn't everybody else do this too? All right? Borrow money, buy cash flowing assets. I mean, it's like, like, I'm not doing it because I'm moving on with other things in my life. I don't necessarily feel like I'm moving into a position in which that I need to have hundreds of millions of dollars of properties that are out, all over the country and all this other stuff. That doesn't feel appealing to me. What feels appealing to me is this. Getting out there and spreading this information, getting better at what I'm doing, refining this so that I can actually be more useful and helpful and providing information and ideas and conversation for people to better understand the economy in a fashion that then promotes their own life and their family and everything else. That's what I feel like I'm meant to do, not be a landlord. Like, people are like, dude, you could be a landlord, you could do all this other stuff, and I'm like, God, that doesn't sound appealing. Like, that doesn't, like, people are like, dude, with your economic analysis, you could have a degree and you should be working for some, like, major corporation doing, economics and analysts and, analytics or something. And I'm like, that sounds terrible. That sounds like a terrible existence. You know that? You're like, I like working at the lumberyard. I mean, great. It sucks at times, it's retail, that's not always that great. But I kind of like working at that little lumberyard. I like the people I work with. I like the job that I do. I like coming out here and doing YouTube. I like being able to pay my bills. I'm like, dude, I'm happy, man. Like, I mean, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. This is it, man. I mean, you know. And I think anybody could really just find they could find that in their life too. It's not that difficult, right? Like, most people limit themselves just from their mindset, just from the things that they are thinking, and the subconscious behaviors that then almost conditions them to meet that expectation. Very much like they are ruining it for me. And then you do things in your life that have it ruined for you. Instead of being a positive. Yeah, it's usury, or you use them like Robert Kiyosaki does. I mean, it's not, just turn the tide, flip the table on them. No work today? Nah, I gotta work. Alright, what time is it? Nah, I should go to bed. Alright, if jobs can't pay for housing and the basics, then it's difficult, and it's been like this my whole life. Yeah, service bureau, it's gonna get worse. This is the thing. It's gonna get worse than that, because you have to understand what's going on. Is that it's the Cantillon effect. Like, if you really want to read up on it, this book right here, right? This essay. Cantillon's essay on economic theory. There's a link down in the description to it. Now, if you go and you read this essay, in part 2, chapter 6, 7, and 8, the increase and decrease of money to the state, you read those and you're going to internalize it, and what you will find is that you will no longer have blame or expectations of what it is that is occurring. You will know why it's happening. And now this is important. I tell you, you don't have to buy this book off of the Amazon link. This book you can get the PDF for free at the Mises Institute. Just type in Cantillon essay. All right, let me put it up there. Cantillon essay right there. Cantillon essay on economic theory. All right. You type that into the Google search. Mises Institute has it for free. Go read those chapters, right? And what you're going to find is that there is a condition in which that new money comes into the state, the rise of the people take place. Right? So all these people start to have a higher standard of living from this new money that comes in. They're industrious, they're producing, they're saving, they're really enjoying this new money that's coming in. It raises their standard of living. This is the reason why back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even going into the 70s, probably into the early 80s even, a normal, regular 9 to 5 job, especially back in the 50s and 60s, normal, regular, everyday, average 9 to 5 job would be able to provide enough money for the entire household. I mean, wife, kids, cars, vacations, college, retirement, all that stuff. One income could do that, right? It's an amazing thing. Now, that income doesn't do anything, but there's a reason for that. It's because the new money kept pouring in and the standard of living kept rising. Because the standard of living was rising, what ended up happening is that people started moving into luxuries. Now, when your standard of living has come up, you have the new car, you have the nice house, you have the good clothes, you went on vacation. Now you have a dive into luxuries. You want a bigger car, you want a bigger house, you want more vacations, you want all the stuff because the new money has poured in and now you're moving into a luxurious life. Now, once you move into this luxurious life and you're adding all this consumption, prices really start to move up, right? You got supply demand imbalances. So foreign competition starts to creep its way in. Foreign competition is now cheaper than the domestic manufacturers can produce it, so the domestic manufacturers have to go and produce in foreign lands. See, this isn't political. This is described. See, people say, oh, it's political, they're sending our jobs, greed, blah, blah, blah. Right here, Cantillon says it hundreds of years ago, describing exactly what was going on today, right? It's like, this is going to happen over and over and over again, no matter what you do. So now, here you have this manufacturing base that's leaving, making it very difficult on the middle class here in the United States to have that single income being a provider for enough, being a provider for enough for the entire household. So now you have to have two incomes to provide for the household, which is going to make it even more difficult as the added consumption, right, from all the money being spent is driving in ever increasing amounts of foreign production and driving out ever increasing amounts of domestic manufacturing, making your job less efficient within this economy to provide for yourself the way of life of that of like the 50s and 60s where you would have a house and a life and a car and all that other stuff and the kids and all that, right? You can't have that anymore because again, we're not a competitive nation anymore. We have moved too far into luxuries. We've had so much new money come in here, and now we live in essentially the abundance of the foreign production that is coming in due to the fact that we have issued out as much debt as we have in order to buy and provide, to buy all this production of the world. So no, you're not going to, your job is not, it is going to be a struggle from here on. Don't think that it won't. However, knowing that to be the case, don't dwell on it. Do something about it, man. Know that you have to do other things. You have to get out in the middle of the night and make a video on YouTube. You have to go out there and try and sell something on Amazon. You have to go out there and start a side hustle washing windows. You have to go out there and figure out how it is that you are going to try and acquire some sort of money outside of your 9 to 5 job because the 9 to 5 job doesn't do it anymore. Even a good job sucks. Just be aware of it. Once you are aware of it, you know you have to do something about it. You're not going to be able to go and pound nails all day, framing walls, and then drink beer all night thinking that you're going to have a life that way. You can't do that. I know, I tried. You can't do that. Don't try it. I mean, go ahead, try it, man. See what happens. I mean, let me know if I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I don't think I am. All right, moving on. 312 people. Man, keep hitting that like button, guys. We're up to 206 likes right now. Let's get it up to 250. Let's see if we can get it up to 350 or 400 people. That'd be awesome. All right, where are my glasses? What do I do with those things? Keep taking them off here. All right. All Nighter says work is simply an agreement between people. Not all employers are in cahoots against workers. That's right. In fact, I mean, I've never worked, I mean, I've worked for guys who are kind of assholes and stuff like that, and I was just there collecting a paycheck or whatever, but any kind of long-term job, I felt like I was more in a partnership kind of position. Like, I mean, when I'm working the store, I work the store like it's like exactly like the owner wants it worked. Like I mean, I think every single day, what would my boss do? Like every single moment of everything that I do, like I try to, like, not always do I agree with the things that he has going there, but I don't care. It's not my place to agree or disagree with what it is that's going on there. It's my job to do what it is that he wants me to do there, right? Because that's the agreement that we've had. And I'm pretty good at what I do, and he doesn't tell me what to do because I do the things that he wants done there the way he wants it done, whether I agree with it or not. Right? That's why he doesn't tell me what to do because I just know what he wants. And so it's a perfect relationship. I show up there 8 hours out of the day. He doesn't really tell me. I mean, he's a boss, so he's like, he's going to tell me. But for the most part, I'm just blasting out sales and taking care of customers and answering the phone and doing what I do there, and that's awesome. It just works out really well. So it's like that's the way I've always worked for my bosses. Same thing with my wife. Like, she's like one of the best workers ever. There's never been a place that she has worked that they didn't think that she was either the manager or the owner of the company. No matter what, like, whether it was a restaurant or catering or doing whatever. 335 people watching, 226 likes. Go keep hitting that like button, guys. It's easy to survive without money, rob, cheat, steal, and live in abandoned houses and take people's houses. Okie dokie. What is the side hustle BS? What do you mean? What is this side hustle BS? Okay. I don't know what it's not. You know that? I don't know what it's not to not have a side. I have two side hustles, and I still try to find other side hustles. All right. Like, I have my main job. I do bingo. I do YouTube. I'm trying to sell. Like, I mean, I don't understand. Like, how is it that you don't do side hustles? That's surprising to me. I mean, I do. I was just like those people. Oh yeah, I can't wait to get off of work so I can do nothing for the rest of the day. And I'm like, okay, yeah, me too. uh, God loves work. It's in the Bible. I'll have to ask her about that. All right. Where is it? Bring back meat bingo. I know. I would really love 2 miles. I work 12-hour shifts at a job that pays well. That's enough. Hey, at 12 hours a day, I mean, come on, man. That is. Like, I mean, most people work 8 hours a day at a job they hardly work at all. I smoke meat. You are still doing the bingo thing? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every Sunday. Yeah, you guys, like, if you're ever passing through Astoria, you're in the area, Sunday, 6:30 at the Workers. It's right underneath the bridge, the big bridge that goes over to Washington. You can go and hang out and play bingo, have a few drinks, win some bacon or steaks or something. All right, you should do it. Barbecue streams and come up with your own barbecue sauce. That's interesting. I never thought about that. I don't believe in work. Good for you, Clear Glass. And actually, you don't need to work. You don't really need to work. The world is full of abundance. You can figure out a way that you don't need to work. And a lot of times people will take that into the idea that you end up being homeless or something like that and you're just a lazy ass. I don't think that's necessarily it. There's ways that you can operate in life in which that you are not necessarily working for anybody or doing a business or anything like that, but you can continue to conduct yourself in a way that is provided you with a house and food and clothing and all the stuff that you need, but you don't necessarily have to go and find a 9-to-5 job to do that. Now, I can't necessarily describe what that is or what it is that somebody would be doing to make that happen, but it's out there and it's available. And I even think about like this YouTube channel. If I was to promote a lot of the stuff that really I could be doing for like sponsorships or something like that, I could be making a pretty decent amount of money working an hour a day. All right. Just, 1 hour a day. And then that's not really like working. is it? And I could, start providing for a house and all this other stuff. I mean, it's work because it's hard and you have to be dedicated to it and all that other stuff. But it's not like necessarily working when you go to do a 9-to-5 job, or when you're, busting your ass framing walls or digging ditches or mining coal or doing whatever it is that you got to do out there. There's ways of earning money that is significantly less requirement of your time and effort, and is far more profitable. All right. And most people don't see that. Like, they think the harder they work, the more that they deserve, right? And that's true, but it's not necessarily the case, right? And I feel that, like, the harder I work, the more I deserve. And I think, like, if somebody was to say, hey, if I work hard, should I get more? I would say yes. But the universe doesn't say that, right? The universe doesn't say that. The universe says, hey, you work hard, you're going to get some money, right? Maybe. Like, literally, that's what it says. Now, you can position yourself in which that a little bit of work provides you with an abundance of money. It's out there. I mean, it's totally out there. People do it all the time. If only you knew who controls the central banks, you would never work again. I send my digital stimulation twin off to do the NPC work while puff DMT in my portal pod poolside. Okay. Wish I could have made meat bingo when I was there. Yeah, that would have been cool. You're voting for them to live in poverty. The uneducated pitmaster. I like it. Work smarter, not harder. I am headed to Lincoln City after I get off work tonight with my family, going to the Tillamook Fair. Right on, Kirk. As you get older, you realize that time is the main commodity. That's it, man. That's the only thing that's the only thing we're all limited to. We only have the amount that we have here on this planet. We'll never be able to get any more of it, no matter what you do. All right? So time is the most precious. It's the most precious thing out there. It's like there's nothing else. All right. I learned that from being a chef. Okay. Can't have kids when jobs don't pay for basics in housing. Actually, I don't think that's true. You can't have kids. You don't want them because of the luxurious life that we have now lived here in this United States. And it sucks for you because you probably want kids. Now, if you lived in some poverty-stricken nation, you could have all the kids you want, nobody would care. And you probably would, all right? Because here's the problem. You can't have kids because of what you just said. It would deter your way of life. It would actually lower your standard of living. So by having kids with a higher standard of living like we have here in the United States, it actually deters us, or takes us down. It lowers our standard of living. So it deters us from actually wanting to do that. So now we have less population growth. But if you were a poverty-stricken nation and you were to have kids, the chances of them lowering your standard of living is pretty slim, considering lowering your standard of living out of poverty would be death. You can have as many kids as you want. It doesn't lower your standard of living. You can only go up from here. All right. So this is one of the reasons why it's very difficult to have kids in a rich nation, one that's high in luxuries, like we are experiencing today. Believe it or not, you are living a luxurious life. Think about it. Most people live off of $2 a day. All right. Can you imagine trying to live off of $2 a day in the United States? Of course not. You can't do it. We live too much of a luxurious life here. Right? But if you lived in some poverty-stricken nation or something like that, you could live off of $2 a day. Isn't that weird? Right? So it's again, that problem is going to get worse. Like, the population growth is not going to increase. There's nothing you can do about that because we are a luxurious nation. And it's just the only way that you could ever change that around is to lower the standard of living. I mean, and it's not me who's making this up. Again, this is Cantillon. right? This is Cantillon describing this from hundreds of years ago. Right here. This is chapter 15. This is chapter 15 of part 1. Let me make sure that's right. Chapter 1, part 15. The increase and decrease of the number of people in a state chiefly depends on the taste and fashions and the ways of life of the property owners. Right? So the property owners are everything, right? They're the ones who have created the luxurious life that we are now suffering through. Right? As much as we really enjoy it, it's a suffering because we can't have kids, and you can't own a home, and you can't have all this other stuff. But, we get cell phones and stuff. That's cool. All right. Again, try to understand that I'm not happy about it. I'm just trying to accept it for what it is. All right. This is what Cantillon has to say. The increase of population can be carried furthest in countries where the people are content to live the most poorly and consume the least production of the soil. So if you're broke as hell and you ain't eating much and you ain't buying nothing, you can have as many kids as you want. All right. Again, the increase of population can be carried furthest in countries where the people are content to live the most poorly and consume the least production of the soil. In countries where all peasants and laborers are accustomed to eating meat, drinking wine and beer, and etc., not many inhabitants can be supported. So yeah, we all like to get drunk and hammered and eat, ribeyes and enjoy, all the stuff. We love living a luxurious life, so you can't have any kids. Sorry, brother. Sucks. All right? And again, just accept it for what it is. Right? If you don't like it, then you're going to either have to, one, move to a country that's poor as hell so you can afford the kids, right, where it doesn't degrade your life any, or you have to become rich as hell because kids are a luxury. Right? They are now. They shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way. You should be able to have a family. Right? I mean, it's human existence to think that that's the way it should be, but that's not the way it is. Right? And we can blame it on all kinds of things, but Cantillon describes what's going on. Hundreds of years ago, he says, hey, man, it's an economic event that's happening. You can blame it on all the politicians. You can blame it on science. You can blame it on environment. You can blame it on anything you want. It's an economic event. He describes what's happening. Right? I mean, it's just like there's no point in reinventing the wheel. I mean, it might look different, but that's what's going on. All right. 335 people with 258 likes. Loving it, guys. Keep hitting that like button. Gosh, look at all these comments. Incredible. All right. Great Depression coming. You can't work your way out. Everything was just fine 50 years ago. We didn't need any of this extra crap. Windhammer, again, right back to the very beginning of this video. Nothing stays the same. It's cyclical. You can't have it like it was 50 years ago. You were expecting things to stay the same and nobody get anything else. Not a new house, no new cars, none of that stuff. You can't have that because with the growth comes the cycle, comes the separation between the rich and the poor and all that other stuff. 50 years ago, it was a very different time. Things have changed. We can't go back. You can't put the paint back in the can. You can't take it off the wall. You can only just keep spreading more paint on the wall. All right. Do you think stock market will crash? How much? I don't know. I'm not much into like stocks, I'm not a trader. I'm not an investor kind of guy. That's not really, like, a lot of people think that economists and investors are the same thing. They're not, right? Economists and investors are two different things. And they look at the same thing, they talk in a lot of the same fashions and stuff, but it's not the same thing. And so, like, when it comes to stocks, I mean, I buy my portfolio. I've talked about it a lot of times. I dollar cost average into it. I don't sell, right? I sometimes when it's down, I buy more than other times, but for the most part, I'm always buying, right? A little bit every other week, once a month, $50, right? Going to different stocks. I don't think about it much, right? I don't like, scrutinize, like, how do I trade? What do I make money on? I don't do that, right? So I don't know what the stock market's going to do. Just have faith in God, no college degree. My family believes in Jesus Christ. We are wealthy. Simon, just pull your head out of your backside for a bit. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it, brother. Why do you think they try to stop us from living like kings in those poor nations? Why do you think they try to stop us from living like kings in those poor nations? Mark Moss is building a giant mansion down in Mexico because of how cheap it is. What are you talking about? They don't stop you from doing anything you want, right? I mean, they can stop you from doing a lot of things that you want, but they can't stop you from really just doing anything you want, right? I mean, there's some things that they say, hey, this is illegal, transferring this over to that country or doing whatever. I mean, like, they probably have a lot of international laws and stuff of what you can do, but you can do whatever the hell you want, right? And I mean, I know people who live in Puerto Rico and I know people who live like in other nations. I don't, to me, like, I don't know. I'm not scared of the New World Order. I'm not scared of, like, people are like, dude, they're going to totally limit you on all the stuff you can do. And I'm like, okay, dokie. I'm not worried. Like, I don't know where everybody else gets worried about this stuff. Maybe they fall for the threat of it. I don't know. Maybe they see things differently than I do. I don't have to pull my head out of my backside when somebody says, dude, you have to get vaccinated or else you're not going to be able to travel. You're not going to be able to work. You're not going to, they're going to go to door and they're going to all this other stuff. And I said, you guys are so crazy. They are not going to do any of that stuff. You can't do that to me. Right? You know why you can't do it to me? Because I'm a constitutionalist, right? It's because I carry this around. Right? There's a difference here. Most people don't believe in this thing. They don't even think it exists. In fact, they say you might as well throw that thing right into the toilet. Cops don't believe it. All like they have all this stuff. Like they don't trust this thing. Okay, that's cool. I mean, when I pull my head on my backside, I guess I was looking at this while I was there. I don't know, right? All right. Blame it on the boogie. Short the market then. I had friend tell me, screw work, I'm going to sit right there and drink beer. Now look at them. No, like that's just the thing. Here's ultimately it. No matter what you do in your world, whether it's working or not working or doing whatever, if you are chasing excellence, you will be rewarded for that, right? If you are providing usefulness, if you are being dedicated to your outcome of like on a direction, right? I'm going to build my, garden up or whatever it is, right? You're committed to making the garden happen. You're chasing the excellence, you will be rewarded from it. It's just like it sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes so much time that you don't think that you'll ever get rewarded for the efforts from it, but it does come, and it comes in ways that you didn't even realize was going to happen, right? That's usually, it comes in a much different direction. And usually it comes in such a direction that surprises you because you had an ego that says, no, it has to look like this. But once you let it go, you let go of the outcome, you didn't believe it was going to happen, boom, it happens, right? It's because you let go of the outcome, you let go of all the negative energy that was blocking it, and then all of a sudden it occurs. Ugh. Okay. Message from the future self. Yeah. Although by drinking beer you can side hustle recycling the cans. Well, that's one way of looking at it, I guess. Late stage capitalism. Clear Glass Studios, like, is late stage capitalism? What is that? Like the moment that you have something called too big to fail or systemically important, capitalism is out the window. You know that, right? Like, capitalism didn't really exist after the creation of the Federal Reserve. That was pretty much the ending of it. Um, so if you have a government injecting, jumping in there, bailing out, there's no capitalism. I mean, you can't even like say, well, we have like late stage capitalism. No, there's no capitalism, period. It's out the window. I mean, you can give it another name. You can call it like crony capitalism or something or whatever, but that's just a different name. It's not real capitalism. Yeah. So it's not late stage capitalism. It's crony. It's more socialist than it is capitalist, right? Because really you have private gains and public losses. So that's not capitalism. Capitalism would never have that going on. You would rise and fall on your own merit. So, I mean, again, we can give it the meaning we want, and if you want to blame capitalism, because that's easy to do, or just give excuse to it and say that it's like late stage capitalism, whatever the hell that's supposed to be. I mean, and I'm not trying to say that you're wrong, but if that's the meaning you're giving it, I think that's probably missing it. Like, again, like, I don't give it excuses or excuses. I look for the theories and the reasons that come from it, but I don't necessarily look for like excuses like this is a liberal mindset fault or this is all that. I mean, homeless is going to increase. I don't care where you're at. Now, if you have a conservative area, do you think that if they are not friendly to the homeless are going to sit there, or are they going to travel to a place that's going to be friendly to the homeless? So now you got homeless communities that are rising up in Portland and all these other places. A lot of those people aren't even from there, right? But it's a hell of a lot easier to get around in Portland being homeless than it may be to get around in Houston. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not saying like, the politics don't have something to do with it, right? I'm sure they do. But the fact is that there would be homeless everywhere, no matter what, because of the condition that we are in. The separation between the rich and the poor, and there's not enough houses out there. It's just the way it is. It sucks. Even a good job sucks. So if you don't have anything going on in your life and you're 35 years old and you've been living on the streets, you go get a good job and you still ain't going to make it. You ain't going to make it. Like, you certainly ain't going to make it with a shitty job. But you're 35 years old, you're living on the streets, and you happen to go and land a good job. Somehow, some way, you managed to do it. You got a good job. It don't matter. It sucks. Because you're starting off from nothing. That means you don't have any furniture, you don't have any appliances, you don't have any things in your house like towels or anything. You think that, like, you can't, that's it, man. Once you hit the street, your chances of coming back out of it to have, like, some awesome existence is like slim to none. Coming to face the facts of it, you'd rather just cover it up with drugs and alcohol. Like, why even try at that point? There's no point. There's no point to it. Like, you try as hard as you can, save everything you got, doesn't matter. It ain't gonna do it. Like, you're like, man, I tried real hard. I worked every day. I dedicated. I didn't drink. I didn't do anything. I saved every dime. And it's not enough, bro. It's not enough. Sorry, man. You're going to have to go sleep in the car. All right? Face it. It's just the way it is. Knowing that's the case, right? Do whatever you can to keep from getting on the streets. Nobody wants to be on the streets in the first place. Right? Don't make a decision to go to the streets. That's horrible. Drinking alcohol is the number one way to find your way to the gutter, in my opinion. Right? Out of all the shit that I did, drinking alcohol is socially accepted, encouraged, provided for everyone, everywhere. Right? Once you're there, it's just like I love it. I love listening to, here, you want to hear me rant a little bit? I love listening to the liberal mindset talking about how we need to have all this help and all this stuff and all this encouragement to do something about the homeless community, all this, and they don't do anything. These people don't do anything except for talk and flap their gums and vote for people who say they're going to do something about it, and then deep down inside, they think that they did something because they voted for the right person who's going to go and do something. But not them. They're not going to do anything about it. But they feel like somebody should, and they're going to vote for the person who does, and that way they feel like they've done their part inside of this community and all the help and all that to do the right thing by voting for the right person who's going to do the right thing. Really? That's the liberal mindset out there. Okay. Yeah. I mean, at least it's something. I mean, it's better than a lot of conservative mindset that says those people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps and go and get their own job and get off the streets and go and make it. They can't do that. They can't do that. That ain't going to happen. Even a good job sucks. It ain't going to happen. They could work as hard. They could go to church every single day and go to work during when they're not at church and do all the right stuff, and it's not going to be enough. Right? So the conservative mindset has it screwed up too. There's no way that these people can do it. The chances of them getting off the streets is slim to none and being able to provide for themselves in a way that people think that they should. Right? So here you got one group saying that something should be done, voting for people who think that they're going to do something about it that don't, and then a whole group of people thinking that they should do something for themselves. And nobody's helping anybody. Yeah. There's no fixing that. There's no fixing that. Right? Because what's causing it, what's creating that situation to occur is going to be more painful to reverse course on it for the majority of the people, that it's better for people to just really understand that do not get there in the first place. Once you are there, the chances are not good. Yeah. I see it every day. I've gone down, I've asked straight up, hey man, what is it you need in your life? I've gone and talked to the homeless community. I mean, they know who I am. I've gone out and I talked to them, man, what is it you need? They can't give me an answer. They can't give me an answer. They say, hey, what about work? And they say, you know what? We don't have any place to put my stuff. This is their little meager possessions, which looks like a bunch of garbage, right? Which looks like a bunch of trash that needs to be thrown away. That's everything that they have in their entire world. That's their entire world, is that handful of broken shit that they have. And they go to work one day and they come back and it's gone. The police stolen it, the city taken it, or stole it, whatever, removed it. Do whatever and now it's over for them. They can't leave their stuff. They're so just that little bit of possessions that they have is everything in their entire world, and they're scared to death to let it go. Yeah. This is the mindset, survival mindset. Like they can't. It would take hundreds of thousands of dollars of therapy per person just to get them into the mindset that show up every day for work. Right? Wow, look at all these comments. All right. They need unconditional love and gospel of Jesus Christ. I thank God for the family farm, for a safe place to sleep off the public property. Wow, so close to the border and institute National Socialism. Kirk, as a fisherman, we have bumper stickers that say, give a man a fish and he eats, teach him to fish and he goes hungry. Love the channel. Hey, thank you very much. All right, what time is it? Hour and 49 minutes into this. All righty, guys, this has been a lot of fun, but we're moving on to like 1:30 right now. And we should probably call it a night at some point, but I'm really enjoying this. I can't believe how many people we have up in here. We got 334 people watching. If you really want to stick it out and continue on past the 2-hour mark, which I think some of us should probably go to bed, we'll stick it out. But you have to go hit that like button. We have to have it up over 300 likes within the next 10 minutes, and we'll stick it out for a little bit longer. Quantum intelligence changed everything we thought we knew. Late night crew, yeah, absolutely. You going to work tomorrow? I am going to work tomorrow. Only you, Simon. only, yeah. We won't be able to do like they did in the last depression. Now there's property taxes, so they'll take your house. I've literally been the outlaw trucker the media says don't exist anymore. Simon, revolution? Yeah. I don't know, like, I mean, what is it you're going to revolt against? Like, what is it that you're going to do? Because if you revolt against the government or, especially the United States, and the United States falls, reestablishes a new government, who's to say that it's going to be in line with this, right? I mean, at least right now, there is some sort of a semblance that this is in existence, right? So, but if you were to revolt, who's to say that it wouldn't revolt into something terrible, right? I think, honestly, the revolt should come in civil disobedience, in the way that we can just simply get government out of our lives, just no longer have them even involved. And, I think a good way of doing that is through digital currencies, especially when it comes to like smart contracts. Because then, you can just simply make government and courts irrelevant in your life. Like the contract's going to go through regardless. Like, it's like, it doesn't matter what they say or do. That to me is pretty cool. Now it's scary, right, in a way, but that's pretty cool. Oh, geez, man, you guys hit that like button, didn't you? All right, well, thank you very much. I guess we'll stick it out for a little bit longer after the 2-hour mark. All right, homeless guy with a dog won't work because the dog can't come to work. Can't find shelter because they don't allow pets. Yeah, Roger, I've seen that. And in fact, one of the issues that I had and ended up buying this house was because of the dog, of the family dog. Like, I could not find anybody to rent me a house because of my dog. All right. Now, granted, it wasn't like, the deal on it, but it was an issue that was coming up for me. And I was like, I cannot believe this dog is creating this sort of like thing in my life, right? The dog is supposed to be, it's just supposed to be there with me like a companion, right? It's not supposed to create limitations. But totally does. And I was so frustrated by that. And when I see people who are homeless with a pet, and I'm thinking, that's the only thing, that's their only friend. That's their only buddy that they have. The only person, the only thing out there that loves them. Right? And to say, you shouldn't have this. That's hard. Right? I mean, hey, granted, like, I feel like I might be able to take care of the pet better than anybody, but a lot of people say that about all kinds of people out there and their pets. Right? This animal is their only thing that they have in their entire life. So it's hard for me to say, man, you shouldn't have this animal. It's the only thing that loves them. They don't have anything else in life that loves them. Right? So, yeah, I can see why it's very difficult for them to give it up, because it's given up the only thing that loves them. Okay. What's the story behind the blue dice? Oh, they were sent to me by a fan. So yeah, I opened them up in the mail one day. I'm like, oh, hey, that's cool. And I threw them up there, and everybody got a kick out of them. All Nighter calls it the Fuzzy Dice Crew. But like they were up there and people like thought that they were pretty cool, and one day I took them down and like, hey, where the hell are the dice, and I'm like, oh shit, right. So I put them back up there, and then they had to stick around. People were doing stock picks and numerology and stuff. Exactly. Pretty sad people need love. Right. I mean, it's here's the thing, like, if you really want to, I don't know how many people sit around and meditate, right? Or even believe in meditation and how impactful it really is on the world and the energies and the fields and all that other stuff. Okay. Ho'oponopono, all right, Hawaiian meditation is probably one of the most powerful things that I've ever witnessed, and I don't get it. Like, I don't understand why it works, but then it really, you do once you do it. It's just about the energy that you are putting out there to the world, because it's just like anything. When you toss anything out there into the world, it's going to have the same thing, like tossing a pebble out there into the lake, right? It starts sending energy out there. Just like when I put the videos out there, it's like sending out that pebble out there. And when you are doing this energy, like, I don't know how to, like, emittance, like when you're pushing this energy out there, when you do it in a particular fashion, it is amazing the results that start to come from it, from the people that are around you or the people that you're guiding that energy towards, right? So this ancient Hawaiian practice, Ho'oponopono, right? It's basically you're repeating the same phrase over and over again while keeping maybe an individual or a particular family, or maybe like you had a fight with somebody or something like that. So you do this meditation, right? Where you think of this person and you sit around, you say, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you, please forgive me, right? And it doesn't matter which order you go in, right? So you repeat that over and over again, and I don't know why or how it works so well, but it literally like neutralizes the negative energy out of there. And you will find like compliance and communication and just easy flowing starting to occur from doing this. And it's funny because you can actually do it to two other people who are fighting. Like, you see an issue with them, you stand back, you don't have to do it with them in the room, you just do it with the energy and the thought of it, right? So you can sit in your own place doing your own thing, pushing this out there to them, and you can actually change the energy field within those people themselves, right? And that is so crazy. This is like, and I'm not somebody who's into like this crystal gripping hippie shit, right? I'm not that dude, right? But this stuff works, right? And I've seen it work, and I've seen it happen, like, personally, so profoundly that there's no denying it. Like, you can't. Like, you'll never be able to convince me of anything else, right? It works. So if people were to do that to the entire world, right, on a regular basis, the internal feelings and the subconscious behaviors that are within us would then start creating the better place that we live in. However, that's not what goes on, right? What ends up happening is we're bombarded with sex content and violent content and, stuff that just, like, complete garbage, nonsense, like, I don't even know how to put it, just like completely like garbage information. Not like stuff that's trying to be real, but like, sitcom shows that are just, pointless and dumb, right? These things are completely clouding our minds from being able to then have and share with the people around us that loving experience of achieving a higher level, like being in that higher harmony, right? And it's not hard. It's not hard to figure out how to do it. The hardest part is to figure out how it is that everybody's going to do it, right? Like, if everybody did this, it would work, right? If everybody thought just like me, everybody would be cool, right? But that's not the way it's going to go down, and it's not going to. And to believe that it is, it's like, I think it's probably dangerous within itself, because it's not possible. Man, I'm getting tired here. I'm starting to get a little loony. All right. Who the hell is this? Okay. Based Jesus. Based lad. What's the MetaMask? They failed. History was written. Try trapping a fart in a jar and opening it a day later. What are you guys talking about? All right, teenage kids with Edgar cuts have more money than me. You can't make this up. Remember, put your own oxygen mask on before you help others. We are in the Entered Apprentice. Thanks, Dan Sands. He wrote it earlier in the chat. Alright, Master Mason. Gonna farm much more, or gonna learn much more about USSF. Alright, cruise down to the bottom. Alright. Coin is on the ETH chain. DeFi trading is key. Most know nothing about. 7-year tribulation. The chair is against the wall. We're in the first year. It started April 8th, 2024. If you never sell stocks, how do you make money with it? Well, first of all, the position that I am taking is a long-term position because I'm trying to find something to have inside of like a portfolio for retirement. So I'm just trying to add continuously, just trying to build up the stock portfolio. So I hold like a position in Vanguard ETF total stock market. I also hold a position in the Vanguard Russell 1000 ETF. I hold a position in Altria, which is a dividend-paying stock, which is the main reason why I'm holding that one. It pays a dividend that I just roll right back into purchasing more stock with it. I'm hoping to build that one up to be a significant amount that, actually pays. So, that's why I'm buying Altria. Not to mention it's Marlboro cigarettes, so it's like, I know a little bit about addiction. So I'm into Altria. I got a little bit of ExxonMobil. And then Coinbase. Coinbase is the biggest move so far. So out of all that, like, my portfolio is up, I don't know, since I started it, maybe 40%, with the biggest one in Coinbase being like a 200 and something percent increase. And then I hold mostly cryptocurrencies, and that's quite by accident. Like, I didn't mean to be in that kind of position with cryptocurrencies, but it just kept growing, gotten so big over the years since I've been purchasing it that it's by far taken up the biggest position of the portfolio. And I didn't even mean it to be that way. And then also gold, silver, the house. So I'm positioned all over the place, but I'm more of a saver because I didn't really have anything, right? So I try to make money in other ways. I'm not trying to make money with the money necessarily in the fashion of like, stock trading and doing that number, but trying to make money and then putting it in a position that it grows from, which is kind of like making money with money, right? And I'm doing it more in the safer bet because I don't really have anything. So I would like to have something. And once I have it, then I would feel a little bit better about maybe trading it or doing, selling it off or doing something like that. But at this point, I'm looking more to building it up than I am to actually trying to create money in a more significant way with it. I'm just hoping that I put it in there and it doesn't go down, right? Because I'm more of a saver than I am an investor. All right. 203 with 329 people watching. 200, or what am I at? 2 hours and 3 minutes into it. 319 likes. $1.19 or $1.99 in super chats because you guys are always so supportive of this channel. All right. They don't tell you about MetaMask on purpose. Making money in your sleep. Yeah, that's what I'll be doing as soon as this video is over. Uneducated Economist is a real human being. Thank you, man. I try to be like, the thing is like when I started this channel, I had nothing. I built it like, I was like, hey, I know that I'm studying a little bit more than the average person when it comes to economics, and I'm going to talk about this on YouTube. Like, that's pretty much what was going to go down. And when I started the channel, I was like, man, how is it that anybody is going to listen to some dude driving us, not even driving? I know, like, I lost my car shortly after I started the channel. Somebody vandalized it to the point that I had to get rid of it. Basically, it was a $600 car that they broke the windows out of, right? It was parked along a really busy street, and somebody drove past and threw bottles through the. So that happened shortly after I had started the channel. Like, I had nothing, right? And so I knew from the very beginning, it was just like, man, there is nothing I can do to try and elevate myself up to be something that I'm not. So I didn't try to pretend to be. I was just like, okay, here I am. I'm just some dude who works at a lumber yard who's spitting out stuff about economics. And I think you might like this lumber talk. And man, did they like the lumber talk, right? So that's really how it went down. And I've never really changed much since. It's just, you guys seen the evolvement of the channel and watched me grow with it and seen all the stuff, right? Going off to go speak, and it's been a hell of a ride. And like I said, I can't fake it. It's just like everything I do is not. It's not there to try and gain fans. It's not there to try and get views. It's not there to try and make money. It's there because this is really what I feel and think. That's it. And I come out here quite a bit to share and share my thoughts and make videos and stuff because I really feel that this is like what I was meant to do. Is be out here and share information and talk about economics and share some of this philosophy stuff that I've come across over the years. And all nighter hider, same here. Don't feel I've missed anything. We're a great community. Yeah, come check us out. Yeah, who are you guys talking to? Hey, I dig the channel, and for real, how you explain economics, and since you're in lumber, the lumber talk is what I like best. I used to frame houses. Hey, thank you very much, Zach. Appreciate you, man. All right. My best investment is 300 pounds of ground lamb. Ugh, I'm not a fan of lamb. I've had it a few times, but dang, I'm not into it. All right. Crypto scares me. I feel like I would get scammed or hacked. Okay, well, I mean that's reasonable, bruh. I mean that's totally reasonable. In that sense, what I would do is I would get a Coinbase account and buy buy $100 worth of Bitcoin. Right. And I mean, if you get hacked or you lose it, then it's gone. Right. And then you're like, well, okay, told you so. But if it doesn't, then you'll have $100 worth of Bitcoin. And now you'll have some skin in the game. And you'll watch that Bitcoin move around. Maybe one day you'll see it significantly rise and you'll have enough that you might want to purchase something with it. And you'll actually spend some of your Bitcoin. Or you want to learn how to use it, and you and a buddy will send some money back and forth just to learn how it works, right? And $100 is a pretty small price to pay to get some knowledge, right? I mean, there's no better knowledge than one that you learn, that you learn for yourself. I mean, like you acquired it from your own experience. So, that's what I would suggest. I mean, if you're really that scared about it, go and lose $100 in it just to go see what the experience is like. I've lost money at a crooked exchange. Like, I know what happens when you put, cryptos in the wrong place. I feel fairly safe with Coinbase. Now, I know a lot of people would disagree with that, and that's totally reasonable to disagree. I mean, they are an exchange and a bank and a crypto, and just like all the rest of them that failed out there, it's a possibility that could very well happen. Now, I've been with Coinbase for a long time. Like, I think I got an account like 6 months after they allowed people to get, once they opened it up for accounts. So I've been with them a very, very long time. And outside of maybe logging in issues or something like that I couldn't get in like when I wanted, like the site was down or something, I've never had any issues with them, ever. Like, never. Other people have talked about, maybe some issues with missing coins or something of that nature. I've never experienced any of that stuff. Every time that I wanted them to do what what I wanted them to do, they did it, right? Which was mainly just buy more. And I've sold it too, and I've traded it and stuff. All right, where are we at, man? Okay, I'm gonna go until 2 o'clock, which is gonna be another 15 minutes, and then we gotta call it quits because I gotta go to bed. But it's been a hell of a fun night out here with you guys. 293 people watching right now with 330 likes. I lost my crypto keys way long ago. I had started mining Bitcoin when it wasn't worth anything. Took a while to get up to $1, but I had probably like 8 or 6 coins. And go figure, lost key. Yeah, I lost key to an Ethereum wallet, and there's some Ethereum and some tokens in there. Appreciate it. Enjoy the sleep. Yeah, you guys, I appreciate you all hanging out. Like I said, I wasn't expecting this many people to be out here at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I'm sure, well, it's not 2 o'clock in the morning everywhere. I'm sure there's some places where it's probably the afternoon or something. All right. If you guys need help, what is that for? All right. That's what you're looking for. All right. Redazon says Buffett quote, any company that has an economist certainly has one employee too many. Warren Buffett said in a speech today that any company that has an economist certainly has one employee too many. That's funny as shit. I like it. See, like that's what I find very comical about most economists out there is like, you put 3 economists in a room, you'll not get any of them to agree on anything except that the other guy's wrong. All right. Capitalism is a life for mental health. Huh. You like a demon in the dark. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of dark out here. And I mean, it's like extra dark out tonight. All right. Windhammer, imagine not being. Where are my glasses? Why am I doing this? All right. Jeez, I can hardly see with them on. Okay. Imagine not being able to state the truth without losing access to income such as free market with no influence. Yeah, it's that is a bit like I've never really felt like I've been censored to the point that they like banned my videos or like deleted one or took it off or anything like that. But they have demonetized them in the past, which is, I mean, to me that's somewhat of censoring, but it's not. I mean, they didn't stop me from saying what I wanted to say. And I've never had an issue ever with anything that I have said. I don't spread misinformation. I put links down in the description. So if there's somebody out there who is saying, hey man, this particular channel is spreading a bunch of fake information or misinformation or whatever, and they ban that, I don't know why they would do that. It's all entertainment value to me anyway. So I don't spread misinformation because I leave a link. Like I just like, hey man, this is the reality of the situation. There's a link. This is my opinion. There's nothing to ban. Right? Like I don't know why somebody would ban that. Now, what I did find interesting is that I did have a video that was demonetized a few months back when I was talking about homeless issue and how the government was screwing it all up with the money and all this other stuff. That one did get demonetized. And I was like, no, wait a minute. There was nothing I said in this thing that should have been demonetized or whatever. So I had them do a review on it. So literally YouTube will go and have somebody review the video, and they did that and said, no, it's still not fit for advertising. And I'm thinking, that video wasn't? Like, out of all the videos I've done, this one video where I'm criticizing the government about homeless and the way they were spending the money, this is the one that gets demonetized. Huh. I don't know who's like, I don't know who called that one, but whatever. I mean, out of all the stuff that I've ever talked about, that's the video that gets like, they don't talk about this. I'm like, out of all this stuff, that's the one. Okay. So I don't see the censorship that a lot of other people are out there. Now, granted, I might hold back on a lot of stuff just because I know that the YouTube algorithm doesn't want particular things. Like they don't like sexual content, they don't want violence, they don't like all this other, stuff that's out there. But again, it's about advertisement, right? They want to make sure that it's, going to suit to the advertisers' desires on what it is that they want their advertisements to be on, right? They don't want to advertise on some video that's totally against or racist or whatever, you know what I mean? So there is those sort of things that, kind of conduct the behavior. But as far as like this monetary policy and the stuff that really interests me and what I'm talking about, like I have never been limited on what it is that I say, ever. Like I don't feel like I have ever held back or, was censored or anything else on anything that I've ever said about the Fed and the monetary policy and all the criticizing and all that other stuff. Other people might feel that. I don't. Right? And I feel like I say whatever I want about them too. Uh, 10 more minutes, guys. Do you think college can act like a foundation for one's life? Well, yes and no, right? I don't think that everybody should be going to college. I don't think that's a smart idea, especially when you send yourself into a deep student loan debt that you are going to spend the rest of your life trying to get out of. If you do not use that degree in a significant way to get out of that debt, then what was the point? Right? Do you need this college degree so that you will make it through life? Well, I know tons of people who have college degrees. They're all much younger than I am, and none of them are doing anything exceptional with it. They all have regular jobs. So now they have regular jobs and a bunch of student loan debt. Now, I think to myself, there was no way all you college degrees are going to get college degree pay when there's not enough college degree paying jobs to be provided for all the degree holding people. Like like if everybody has a degree, who the hell is going to flip burgers? Right? You can't. There isn't. You're going to have people with degrees flipping burgers. And that's exactly what we are facing. And so, like, is a degree a good foundation for life? No. Yes, no, right? What are you going to do with it? That's the question, right? What do you is using a degree to create a foundation for life a good idea? Yeah, if you use the degree, but going to college and getting a degree and not using it, I think is a bad idea. All the, I mean, you realize like I've taken Harvard classes, right, on marketing and stuff. They're for free. You can get them online. Like you don't even have to go and look for them. They're like on YouTube. Right? Yeah, I mean, it's just like they're all these college courses are essentially for free. You don't have to pay for any of it. If you think that the college degree makes you smart and being smart then allows you to conduct yourself in the world, then just go get smart. Learning all the stuff is for free on the internet. You can go get it all right now. All right? I mean, you can pay somebody to teach you about economics, or you can just go learn about it all yourself. Just spend 20 years reading through all the speeches and stuff like I did. Right? And I have an understanding about economics that is way different from like a lot of people out there because they got their economics in a traditional fashion or the understanding of it. So now they're stuck on this base and they build their understanding off of that base. I don't have a base to build off of. Like the way I understand economics is very free, open, flowing, like, open to all kinds of perspectives and ideas and what can happen. A lot of people are like, no, Keynesian economics, no, Austrian economics, no, it has to be like, it's just one set of rules, boom, boom, boom. This is the way they go. And I don't look at it like that. I look at it as holistically, like it's just the entire thing. Alrighty. Golly, I can hardly see. Hey, nice. I am a simple hemp farmer. Yeah, and hempcrete, nice stuff. Hemp is making comeback and good things It's durable and can be used in tons of stuff. Shouldn't have never been illegal. Well, you know what I think is kind of funny is that I live in Oregon and there weed was never illegal here. You know that? Weed was never illegal. Well, it was illegal. It was never a crime. That's what I should say. It was never a crime. It was a misdemeanor. So if you and that was the way it was from like back in the 60s or 70s or something. My entire life. Like I grew up here. This is the way it is. So until they actually passed it to for recreational use, it was a misdemeanor. So like if you got caught with less than an ounce of weed, it was like a $600 fine. That's it. They confiscated the weed and they wrote you a ticket and you went on your way. Right? Pretty amazing to think about. Like some places in this country, you have a joint in the ashtray and you go to prison. Right? But not in Oregon. In Oregon it was decriminalized a long time ago, and it was never a crime to have weed in Oregon. And so I think about that, like when it should never have been illegal, it in a lot of ways it wasn't, right? Like, it was decriminalized here in Oregon, and what it did is, I mean, if people really looked at it for what it was, like I don't think the marijuana that people were consuming had even remotely the impacts that things like heroin, cocaine, alcohol, all these things. Like you think about it, I watched my buddy consume 32 bong. He smoked 32 bong hits in a row. Like I sat there and hung out with him at his kitchen dining table or his kitchen island table there. And for a few hours as we sat around there, he literally smoked like a pile of weed, right? I mean, I laughed at him when I was watching him do it. He didn't really act or do much different from the first or second one to the last one. Like there was no change in him whatsoever after smoking all that stuff, right? And even as a regular smoker myself, there was a time when it got to a point where you don't really feel like you get high. You just feel you feel the same, only different, right? It just gets to a point where it's just not there. And so when I think about like all the illegal things that are out there that will get you really messed up, marijuana is very mellow. Like the first time you use it, it's intense, but like regular users of it, they don't feel the same as somebody who's a casual user and just gets blasted every once in a while. So when I think about that, if you're an alcoholic, when I was an alcoholic and drinking all the time, I could still get drunk. Like I could sit there and consume alcohol until I was as annihilated as I wanted to get, right? But you can't necessarily do that with weed, right? You can get high, but after a while, you're only going to get so high, and that's about as high as you're going to get. And if you're new to the game, you're going to get really high. But if you've done it for a while, no, you don't. It's not the same. I agree. It should never have been illegal. You know? All right, red zone. Red zone. Red zone. $4.99. Thank you so much, man. High energy costs cause high prices. Low energy costs roll back. Why not price of labor drop as well? Drill, baby, drill. Well, your labor can't drop because all your bills are going to, I mean, I guess in a lot of ways you'll see your bills come down. And if inflation comes down, but your labor cost doesn't come down, what you end up doing is you get laid off and they hire somebody cheaper, right? Because nobody's going to take a pay cut. Like some people might, but most people aren't going to take a pay cut. You get laid off and then they hire somebody cheaper. Oh. All right. What time is it, guys? All right, we got like just a few more minutes here. Where is it? We got, not even a few more minutes. We got one more minute. I'm going to go down. I'm going to read this other super chat we got from, oh God, I can hardly read it. Mercedes, BMW, Porsche. Nice, man. I love the name. Thank you for the $5, man. Enjoyed the late night stream. Well, thank you very much, guys. We had 300 people watching, 340 likes, $11.98 in super chats. Awesome. You guys are so great for being here. I never would have thought we would have so many people so late in the night here, but this is great. Had a great live stream. A lot of stuff that we discussed. Always think everything's cyclical, right? It's always changing. Things are constantly changing. And there's no reason to think that it will ever be the same, right? So as time goes on and we evolve into the new days and the new changes that are involved with it, or new changes that are coming, we have to evolve with it. And with that, I think I'm done speaking because I'm mumbling my words now. All right, uneducated economist, you guys let me know.